I'm Aidan. I like to stay fit and healthy and eat well. But these days, you are probably like me. You read about diets and food, and maybe you're also a little confused. So I have gone on a journey to find out the truth about food and diets. In front of me, I have a selection of very scrumptious, good-looking, yummy, convenient foods that we're all used to. They look good, but they have one thing in common. They're all processed in a factory. They have little or no nutrients whatsoever that my body needs. But they're high in sugar and salt and additives. My body doesn't need that. So I am looking for something else. Ooh, yeah. That's a lot of books. Well, we've concluded that the modern day diet isn't really good for your health. So I am going to do some research, hence all these books. Yeah, let's start over here, I reckon. The Vegetarian Cookbook, the latest trend. Gluten-free. The Feingold Diet, helping my child behave. Gut and Psychology Syndrome. The Failsafe Cookbook, reducing food chemicals for calm, happy families. The Paleo Ketogenic Cookbook. There are so many out there, but if you read this one states, I can eat bread, but not blueberries. But then I look at this one, and I can eat blueberries, but not bread. I am confused, very confused. Therefore, I'm going to go and talk to the experts. On my journey to find the truth about food and diets, I've come to Somerset to speak to nutritionist Solveig Curran and Dr. Richard Savage. Solveig, we have found out that the modern diet is not good for us. So which diet do you recommend, the Paleo diet or the Failsafe diet?
The answer to that question is not very simple, because all diets can be used in a good way and help you to regain health, and all diets can make you ill. I experienced this exact dilemma 16 years ago. We were struggling with a hyperactive 4-year-old. The whole family had been on the Paleo diet for 4 years. When the other children were eating sweets, my child was eating blueberries. And when the other children were drinking squash, my child had a green homemade juice. When the other children were eating porridge made with cow's milk, my child was eating gluten-free cereals with almond milk. And when the other children were eating bread made of grains, my child was eating a special gluten-free low-carb bread. I thought we were eating really healthily, but my child was struggling with hyperactivity, mood swings, eczema, and he woke up every night. And my friend children, they were happy and healthy and slept through the night. That's when I met Dr. Richard Savage, a doctor's appointment which truly changed my life. Dr. Savage explained that eating too much of anything can make you ill. Salicylates, a natural acid found in fruit, vegetable, honey and herbs and nuts and seeds, can make a person ill if they consume too much or if it's difficult for them to break it down. And trying to be healthy, we had given our child too much salicylates. After learning that salicylates can make my child hyperactive, we went straight onto the Failsafe diet. And within 2 weeks we saw amazing results. He was happy and healthy and he slept through the night. But I was too scared of giving my child anything with salicylates, so we gave him the same food again and again and again. And after 9 months on a restricted diet, he experienced further health issues. And that's when I decided to study to become a nutritionist, so I can learn what to feed my child. And now he's a happy and healthy 20-year-old, eating balanced meals every day. So back to your question. If you want to stay healthy, I think it's important to eat balanced meals and not stick to any restricted diets.
Dr. Savage, what are your thoughts about these two very different diets, the Paleo diet and the Failsafe diet?
The best diet, of course, is a balanced diet where one can have everything that one needs in the right proportions without any restrictions. But as a temporary measure, it may be necessary to follow a particular diet to either identify a problem or treat a problem that's caused by excesses in their diet previously. Now, two things to remember. First of all, dosage. Substances can be healthy for the body in small amounts, but poisonous in large amounts. This applies particularly to minerals and to certain natural chemicals like salicylates and amines. Secondly, one man's meat is another man's poison, and this applies to people in relation to their food intake. We're not all the same. We have different genetic makeup, and it's our genes that are responsible for making the enzymes which the body uses for digesting and breaking down nutrients in food and eliminating what the body doesn't need. Now, if one lacks these enzymes for one reason or another, then it's easy for certain nutrients to build up in the body in poisonous amounts, and then the person suffers as a result of it. So if you think of the Paleo diet, which eliminates grains and dairy products to a large extent, there can develop an excessive amount of salicylates and amines in that person's diet. On the other hand, the Failsafe diet, which eliminates all additives and low in salicylates and eliminates amines, can be particularly high in carbohydrates, and that poses problems as well. So for a limited amount of time, it may be useful to restrict certain things in the diet till the patient is well, but as soon as possible, get them on a balanced diet where they can have something of everything that is good for them.
Solveig, you have said that these diets can make you ill. So what should we eat then to stay fit and healthy?
I think we should go back to eating traditional meals, the kind of meals people have been eating for centuries. Through trials and errors, people have learned what to eat often and what to eat occasionally. In our household, we eat natural foods. It fits well with the principles behind the Paleo diet: natural, healthy, unprocessed foods. But we include grains and dairy products in our diet. We don't eat the modern wheat bread, made of refined wheat and often containing additives, but we eat a homemade spelt bread made of natural grains like people have been eating for thousands of years. Our diet also fits well with the principles behind the Failsafe diet, free from additives and low in salicylates and amines. It doesn't mean we don't eat salicylates and amines, but not too much. If we take a closer look at all traditional meals, you can see the biggest part is food low in salicylates and amines. And when food higher in salicylates and amines are included, is only in small amounts. Because too many natural chemicals can make any person ill.
Dr. Savage, what does new research say we should eat?
So when we think about a balanced diet, think of the thirds. The first third, which is made up of vegetables and fruit. We were brought up, eat all your greens, and green leafy vegetables have been healthy for centuries and should not be left out of the diet. The government recommend us to have 5 portions of vegetables and fruit a day. And there it's important not to overdo the fruit. A portion is really a handful, but an adult's handful is much bigger than a child's handful. A handful of grapes, 14 for an adult, and the same applies to dried fruits as well. A dried fruit is just the same as a fresh fruit, so 14 raisins or sultanas, but a child, 6 is a portion, 6 grapes or 6 raisins. The other thing that we can easily overdo, the fruit, is with smoothies and fruit drinks. All kinds of smoothies are very rich in fruit, so be careful there. And remember, the important thing is the green leafy vegetables. That should be the bulk of your 5 portions of fruit and vegetable each day. The next third of our diet should come from protein and fat. And when I mean fat, I mean good fat. the fat that we get in dairy products, in nuts and seeds and avocados, that is good for the body. What we don't want is the processed fat, and that we get with all kinds of chips and crisps and hard margarines and things like that. With protein, the important thing is that it's fresh. Fresh meat, fresh fish. If it's not fresh, it starts to decompose and produce amines, which, as we said, these are things that can be toxic to the body, causing tiredness and headaches, digestive upsets, depression, anxiety, mood swings, behaviour issues in children, and skin rashes like hives. So fresh protein is good, unprocessed fat is good, and that should account for 1/3 of our diet. And finally, 1/3 of our diet should come from carbohydrates. But there's good carbohydrates and there's bad carbohydrates. And the problem that we have in our society is that we're eating too much refined carbohydrate. And that brings about obesity and also hypoglycemia, where people drop their blood sugar and then eat more than they need for their normal energy consumption. So we want to keep white sugar and white flour to a minimum. Carbohydrates are our main source of energy. So it's obvious a person who's doing hard physical work or an athlete, they are consuming more energy than somebody who's sedentary. So we need to remember that on the amount of carbohydrate that we have, that it balances the amount of energy, the amount of physical work that we're doing. Otherwise, we start to get overweight. So if a person's suffering from overweight or insulin resistance, they may well need to restrict their carbohydrates to get them down to a normal level, and then have the amount of carbohydrate that keeps them in a steady state. So healthy people, they can eat unprocessed carbohydrates, like whole grain cereals, whole wheat, barley, oats and spelt, and vegetables, root vegetables like potatoes. That's also an important source of carbohydrate. So when you think of it, this is the diet that my generation was brought up on, what our parents and grandparents had had over the centuries, a diet that kept us in good health. And many of the problems that we're seeing today are because of inadequacies in our diet, deficiencies, excesses, which can be put right if we have a balanced diet with all the nutrients that our body needs.
So now you know what to eat. Not too much, not too little, but a balanced diet. If you want to know more, visit livenaturally.org.uk.